Welcome to Health, Wellbeing and Lifestyle, where professionals in the field inform, educate and inspire the community to be healthier and have a balanced lifestyle. Our first guest today is journalist and meditation teacher Beatriz Goyoaga, and she will be talking to us about the secrets of breath to improve your health. Welcome, Beatriz.
Jai Gurudev, thank you.
So can you tell us what's the relation between the breath and our health?
The breath is probably the most important thing of our life. First thing you did when you were born is breathe in. The last thing you will do when you die is breathe out. It goes with us lifelong, and we ignore the amount of secrets and the amount of benefits health has. It's the cheapest medicine of the market, and it has no side effects, and you can do it at home. You don't even need to go across the road to buy medicine. At home with your hair rollers on, in your pajamas. So fantastic to discover. I discovered this 26 years ago. Discovered the benefits of breath. I accompanied my husband to a big meeting in Buenos Aires, Argentina, where I reside now. And we are helping out to anybody who would like to become a better person, a happier person through breath and meditation.
So you say a better person and a happier person, and we know we have a lot of mental health issues at the moment. So how does it help? How does working with the breath help with mental health?
I want to underline that it is not only in Australia or Melbourne. We are having issues all over the world. It's a very difficult time. When I went to the Antarctic, and there's 2 bases in the Antarctic that have children. I was a month and a half in the icebreaker, on the icebreaker. And I saw children going to school harnessed like the dogs, and with a hook, the mother would put them into an iron rod, and the children walked all the way to the school tied to this iron rod. And then when they came out, the teacher would, hook them again, and like that, because the winds were so blowing 140 kilometers an hour, and I was crawling, on the floor. So strong winds. Now, the winds, the mental winds are blowing, whether you are in Madrid, in Perth, Melbourne or Sydney. They are blowing so strongly. We have to be well prepared, well tied. We have something to help these children with, and that is through breath. And that goes with the exams beautifully. In Harvard, in Yale, in the most prestigious universities of the world, they are taking these breath workshops to improve focus, and we will go through benefits if we have the time, because the benefits are very many. So the wealth of the health is incredible.
I'd love to hear some more benefits. Please share.
Well, we could divide them in 3. We can say emotional, intellectual and physical. At the level of the body, the sugar level remains like this even after maybe 3, 4, 5 weeks of doing the breathwork practices. And this I'm telling you, results done in hospitals and in scientific researches, not my own. The blood pressure is also regulated. Anything related to stress, like ulcer of the intestine, of the hiatus, or sleepless nights, tremendous to do away with the sleepless nights, to sleep better. The falling of your hair, psoriasis, scratching, all of these derivated from stress. And then at the level of the hypothalamus, which is the main nervous along the nervous system, in charge of the blinking of the eyes, the beating of the heart, the orgasms, the filter of the liver, anything which is automatic. When you're stressed, the vagus nerve is contracted and nothing works correct. When you do this Sudarshan, the nervous system, the vagus nerve, expands to its normality, and the NKs, the natural killers for cancer patients, is increased like putting ink into the water like this. So for anybody who is undergoing cancer, fantastic to take the Sudarshan Kriya. Now, okay, this is bodily. At the level of emotions, you become softer, you become more patient, you become more understanding to what your children need, to what your partner needs, and you become a nicer person to be with because you are softer, more sweet, more gentle, increase your patience. And when you are after your meditation and breath work, you feel so relaxed that you have more patience, poor thing, like that. And the last one, we've done body and the mind, intellectual. More focus, more alert, more productivity, and more better decisions. Shall I go this way or shall I go this other way? It is more clear, where should I go? Messi, the number one football player of the world, his mind is brilliant. And many of these men are taking breath work and meditation.
What for our viewers at home, we're all breathing all the time. So what do they need to do? Can they do anything today, or do they have to go somewhere and learn these techniques?
I have transmitted this to 7,000 policemen, and I have transmitted this to 1,800 prison inmates, women and men, and 800 prison guards. Prison life is not easy. It's like today home life is also not easy. So the benefits cannot be transmitted online. Otherwise, it would be something wishy-washy. It's like me sending you a kiss over the WhatsApp. You don't get it. But when somebody hugs you and kisses you, oh, how beautiful. So like this, you have to do it. Everybody who is seeking mental health and body health, they should find out what is behind your breath. A lot of secrets.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. If you would like to learn more about secrets of breath and Beatriz Goyoaga, you can visit her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And after the break, we'll be back with another interesting guest and another interesting topic.
Stay tuned. After the break, animal communicator and therapist Caroline Pope talks animal communication and breaking down the barriers. Welcome back. Now we have Caroline Pope in the studio, and she is an animal communicator and therapist, and we're going to be discussing animal communication, overcoming barriers. Hi Caroline, welcome.
Hey.
Now I wanted to ask, are different human languages a barrier to animal communication? So if you were working on communicating with an animal that wasn't from an English-speaking country, how does that affect things?
Providing the person on the other end can also speak English as a second language, it's not an issue because the animal doesn't speak a language per se. They use telepathics. So telepathics doesn't have a language. The biggest problem I actually find with my international people is simply some of the accents I can struggle a little bit to understand, and apparently I have a very broad Aussie accent and very few can understand me. That seems to be the biggest barrier.
So it's a human issue, not an animal issue.
It's a human issue, not an animal issue.
How does it work? How do you communicate with animals?
For those of you that have seen The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, great trilogy, think of the babblefish. For those that haven't, the babblefish was something that you put in your ear and it would swim around and it would simultaneously translate any language right throughout the universe. And essentially that's what happens because it's all about thought. If you're, say, a diplomat and you want to say something to someone who only speaks Russian and someone who only speaks Dutch, the thought pattern's the same, what you want to say might be the same, but the languages are different. So the animal's thought pattern, to me, is always going to be the same. It just happens that I only speak English, therefore I need another English-speaking person on the other end of the phone. The animal doesn't have a language per se. It's all telepathics, it's all energetic thought.
How does the difference between species affect animal communication?
Hugely. That's the biggest job of any animal communicator, is advocating for species difference. You're not going to roll in horse poo and eat it, at least I'm assuming you're not. Your dog will. Dog's not going to jump on Google and Google animal communication. One of my cats once said to me, "Murdering birdies is good for my stress levels. You should try it sometime." Murdering birdies wasn't going to do anything for my stress levels. Drinking coffee wasn't going to do anything for the cat. And everything is within species. You can't blame a dog for being a dog any more than if a horse gets a fright, it's going to shy or bolt, because that's what horses do. And the biggest problem is people that consider themselves animal communicators that have no species awareness. I remember one lady, and look, she was a human psychologist, she was very good, but she'd been speaking to these people with this very, very troubled dog. And they told me what they were doing, and I just went, no, that's crap. You actually do the complete opposite. And within 5 minutes, that dog was lying down. It hadn't laid down for 3 weeks, because the signals they were giving to the dog was actually upsetting the dog. When you understand the species, you understand how to change your signals, because any animal's like a computer. They can only go by the information you're giving. And you're giving any animal information 24/7, 365. The problem is we're not aware of the information we're giving, because we can only see things from our species parameters. My computer guy puts it really well. He says it's like giving Mac commands to a Windows computer and going, why isn't this working? They're two different operating systems. A cat and a dog and a human have 3 different operating systems, and then add that to every species.
So could you please give our viewers some advice on communicating with their animals? Are there any general things to look out for?
Start with someone else's, because you're too close to your own. In the same way, doctors doesn't treat their own children, or a clairvoyant doesn't generally read. You need to know you're able to communicate, and you know your own too well. You can't detach what is you from what is them. And also you need feedback. You need to know whether you're on the right trail. I mean, having said that, sometimes you'll get something that's just so weird you couldn't possibly have thought it up, and that's when you know it's coming from the animal. But most of the time, practice on others and get others to practice on yours, and start with it that way. Because it's like, a kid's not often going to tell his mum what's going on, but he'll tell a third party. It's exactly the same. So work with that to start with, and build up the relationship and the rapport from there.
When you say practice, like what sort of things would you do, say, with a friend's dog? What would you observe?
They might, for example, say, all right, here's a list of 4 questions. See what answers you get. And that's a good one for you. But they need to be answers that the owners know. For example, dogs in shelters. Any dog in a shelter will tell you anything it needs to get out of there, rather than being euthanized. But also, people like to get stuck in the past. And, it's because he was a shelter dog till he was 6 months old. Well, yeah, you've had him 12 years and he's still a brat. What's your excuse? People like to keep their animals in victim mode, but they can't know what's gone on. So there's no point in asking what happened while you're in the shelter, or how many homes or whatever have you had before, when you're starting to learn, if the owner can't validate that, because they need to be questions that the owner 100% knows.
So that's you asking in English the dog a question.
Yeah, you might give me a list of 4 questions, and it might be, what does Fido like to eat? Where does he like to go? Some of his favourite activities. And then I'll take a photo and tune in, write down the answers and give them to you. And you can go, those 2 are right. No idea why you said that. I'll try feeding it to him, see whether he likes it or not, and get back to you. Because you need to know you're on the right path. And it's like a muscle. You don't use it, you lose it. But start with little bits, because you don't go out and run a marathon. As Tuvok used to say, you don't get out of a wheelchair and do advanced aerobics. You don't run a marathon to start with. Little bits and build up. And that's the thing. If I said to you, we're going to learn ancient Egyptian or Latin, No one's going to expect to be fluent in a day, and using the Egyptian, go in and read Tut's tomb. And yet everybody expects to be able to communicate fluently and instantaneously within a day. And sadly, for 99.99% of the population, it takes work. But the rewards are always worth it.
Well, that is fascinating. Thank you so much, Caroline.
You're very welcome.
If you want to know more about Caroline Pope and language and communication with animals, please go to her webpage on our website at healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au, and we'll be right back after this break with another amazing guest.
Stay tuned. After the break, naturopath, lecturer and author Michèle Wolff will be talking about, are bloating and irritable bowel syndrome curable? Welcome back. Our next guest, Michèle Wolff, is a naturopath, author and lecturer, and the topic we'll be discussing is how food affects our digestive and nervous systems. Welcome, Michèle.
Thank you, Megan.
So how does food affect our digestive system?
Food can have a big impact on our digestion because it's going straight into our digestive system, and you've got several organs of your digestive systems. So when you eat food, it can impact that and put more strain on that, and it can also impact the way that your bowel moves, which is called peristalsis. So for example, if you eat too much sugar, you'll put a lot of pressure on your pancreas with the insulin production. So if that goes on and you have too much sugar, you can be at risk for diabetes, for example. And then also if you have too much sugar, that becomes a breeding ground for pathology. So you can get an overgrowth of abnormal bacteria like fungus and parasites. So eating can really affect your mood. More junk foods, white flours, sugars, unhealthy drinks, so too much alcohol, too much soft drink, too much caffeine, can have a negative effect on your gut and on your brain. And then if you're overloading your digestive system with any food, that can cause a problem as well. So for example, if you overeat meat and you're not having vegetables with the meat and you're eating that late at night, your stomach can't handle it. So it takes a lot to produce enough hydrochloric acid to break down that meat into a soup. And you want to have really good amounts of plant food to create that nice microbe, like having healthy soil, to produce a really healthy intestine. And you want to be having food that has the right amount of nutrients to give you energy and to help your nervous system and to help your mood. So when you've broken that food down in your stomach, your small intestine, which is 22 feet that goes from the stomach, that absorbs all your good nutrients. So you want to have plenty of nutrients for energy and for relaxation and to feed all your other organs, and for your diet to be more anti-inflammatory rather than pro-inflammatory. Having more of a Mediterranean diet with lots of legumes, lots of green leafy vegetables, good oils like olive oils, nuts and seeds, they have a really positive effect. And having a variety. So if you have 40 different plant foods a week, that feeds your whole microbiome. Now that can seem overwhelming, but if you have a curry, say, with 7 spices, those spices count as plant food. So you could have as a base onion, garlic, a turmeric, cumin, and some Italian herbs, and you've got quite a range already. So it's increasing the diversity of plant foods and avoiding unhealthy drinks and unhealthy foods, particularly junk foods, particularly sugars, and keeping carbohydrates quite low as well. So carbohydrates should only be 1/4 of your diet, not half of your diet.
How does food actually affect our nervous system?
So food affects your nervous system in a couple of ways. Firstly, by the nutrients it contains. So your nervous system needs a lot of magnesium, a lot of calcium, a lot of potassium, a lot of B vitamins in order to operate effectively. And the adrenal glands, which are part of your nervous system that are responsible for the flight and fright, they use up a lot of vitamin C. So you need to feed and nourish them with those good nutrients and good complex carbohydrates, which give you energy without overdoing the carbohydrates. And the things that negatively impact the nervous system are your cakes and your biscuits and your fast foods. And you know, if you're healthy, the 80-20 rule is okay. If 80% of the time your diet is good and you're creating that really healthy microbiome, you're absorbing really good nutrients, then 20% of the time, you know, you can have your treats. It just depends on where you are. If you've got a serious disease, then you have to be stricter for longer. And if you have some sort of pathology, that will have an effect on your nervous system in making you more irritable or more angry. And so starving that out by not having carbohydrates and sugars will help your mood. And then you've got foods that really help to relax you. So a glass of warm milk with a spice, say some warm milk with cardamom, or if you can't tolerate milk, then hot coconut milk or almond milk is very, very soothing, relaxing, and can help you sleep better, which is part of your nervous system as well. And then you've got foods that spice the nervous system up a bit. So a little bit of dark chocolate has something called theothrombin in it, which is a little bit like caffeine, so that will make you very alert. But if you overdo the dark chocolate, you'll get anxiety and you'll be too hyperactive. So that's part of your nervous system as well. So it's just having that balance of not having things that make you too hyperactive and anxious, and not having things that make you depressed and sluggish, and keeping that middle balance with a good Mediterranean diet and anti-inflammatory foods and spices.
Do you have any special tips for our viewers?
So if you're having junk foods, move to a more healthy junk food. So for example, takeaways, sushi takeaway would be much more healthy than a pizza. So just have a look around at what you can do. If you have really busy days, on the days that you're not busy, get some glass containers and freeze lots of meals so that you can pull them out on days that you're busy, and then you'll have less junk food. Avoid having things in the house that are unhealthy. So, you know, you don't have to have chocolates and biscuits and cakes in the house unless you're having a particular visitor that day, but it's not healthy for your family either. And instead have an abundance of fruit and vegetables in your pantry and in your fridge and on your kitchen bench, so that they are healthy snacks. Nuts and seeds are healthy snacks as well.
That's such good information, Michèle. Thank you. If you'd like to know more about how food affects our digestive system and our nervous system and Michèle Wolff, please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And we'll say bye-bye for now, and we'll see you next time. If you'd like to know more about our show, please like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.